Literature reflects the society that produces it. The concerns, anxieties, aspirations, and conflicts of a time and place appear in its literature, sometimes directly, sometimes refracted through fiction, metaphor, and symbol. Student 1. So reading Nigerian literature teaches us about Nigerian society. Yes, and vice versa, understanding Nigerian society helps us read Nigerian literature more richly. The colonial experience, the independence era, the civil war, military rule, oil wealth and its contradictions, all of these shape the literature. Nigerian literature moves through distinct periods. Colonial era, early writing defending African culture and asserting humanity. Independence era, hope, nationalism, criticism of new elites, Achebe, Soyinka. Post-Civil War, trauma, memory, reconstruction, Amodi, Ekwensi. Contemporary, globalization, diaspora, gender, urbanization, Adichie, Tejuko. Student 2. How does Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie fit into this? Adichie writes at the intersection of feminism, post-colonial identity, and globalization. Purple Hibiscus deals with domestic tyranny and religious fundamentalism. Half of A Yellow Sun centers the Biafran War. Americana explores race and diaspora. Each text is in conversation with Nigerian and global social realities. Literature does not just reflect society, it critiques it. Writers expose injustice, challenge power, and imagine alternatives. Examples: Soyinka's A Dance of the Forest, a critique of Nigerian independence leaders who replicated colonial abuses. Semben Ousmane's God's Bits of Wood, working-class resistance to French colonialism. Bochy Emekita, critique of patriarchy and Western feminism's blind spots regarding African women. Student 3. So reading a novel is also a political act. Reading critically is. When you ask whose story is centered, whose is marginalized, what values the narrative endorses, you are reading politically. And that reading changes how you see the world. African literature draws deeply from oral tradition. The griot, oral historian and storyteller, is the ancestor of the African novelist. Proverbs, folktales, call and response, and communal narrative forms all flow into written African literature. Student 1. How does Achebe use oral tradition? Things Fall Apart is full of Igbo proverbs. When the moon is shining, the cripple becomes hungry for a walk. These are not decorative, they carry the moral and philosophical framework of Igbo society. The novel itself is structured like an oral tragedy. Literature shapes identity. Reading stories about people who look like you, speak like you, face the choices you face, that is transformative. And reading stories of radically different lives builds empathy and understanding. Student 2. What's the point of studying literature from other countries or cultures? Because literature is a form of encounter. Reading Dostoevsky, Toni Morrison, or Garcia Marquez expands your human vocabulary, your capacity to understand suffering, joy, contradiction. It makes you a more complex thinker and a more empathetic person. Practical exercise: take any current Nigerian social issue, insecurity, electricity shortage, corruption, gender-based violence, youth unemployment. Can you find a text, a poem, story, or novel that speaks to this issue? Student 3. Poetry on unemployment, maybe Niyi Osundere's Village Voices. Excellent. Osundere consistently connects ecological and economic suffering to governance failures. His poetry is deeply rooted in Yoruba oral tradition and speaks directly to contemporary realities. That connection is what makes literature live. In WAEC essays, questions about a text's relevance to society or its social message require you to 1. Identify the social issue the text addresses. 2. Analyze how the author presents it through literary technique. 3. Consider whether the text offers critique, affirmation, or ambiguity. 4. Reflect briefly on the issue's contemporary relevance. Student 1. Without turning it into a sociology essay. Exactly. The literature remains central. Social context enriches your analysis, it doesn't replace close reading. Literature both mirrors and critiques society. Nigerian literature moves through colonial, independence, post-Civil War, and contemporary phases. African written literature draws from oral tradition. Literature shapes identity and builds empathy. In examinations, connect social context to literary technique, let context enrich close reading, not replace it.